This is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
It's the beginning of another week. Good evening, welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from News up at Desawe Kanda. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Also on 3 News on YouTube. I'm Alfred Conce. Tonight, firemen under fire for allegedly assaulting a journalist. Authorities say the matter is under investigation. We unpack the issues, including implications on, especially when it comes to the matters of press freedom and journalists doing their work. There's been some condemnation of this particular incident from the presidency. We'll talk about this. Stay with us. The firemen under fire tonight. Also, police abandoned barriers and security checkpoints on the Tamale-Bolgatanga-Paga Highway as locals ask why, raising security concerns. Stay with us because this is an area where we've seen a number of these highway robberies take place. Also, United Nations Security Council holds emergency meeting over seized Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro as he pleads not guilty to drug trafficking and other charges in his first appearance in a U.S. court. We have details of these and more. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's keep the conversation going on Facebook and also on X as we're streaming live as well on YouTube. Yeah, on TV3 Ghana. Well, let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
President Mahama has reiterated his government's commitment to review the single-spine salary structure to improve the welfare and benefits of workers across the country. The president gave the assurance while addressing delegates at the 7th Quadrennial National Delegates Conference of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, in Accra.
The spine is very crooked now, and everybody is unhappy. Everybody is unhappy with the spine. Of course, TUC raised it with us and asked if we could look at the whole salary structure again. And I can say that we're very willing to do that so that we're able to remunerate people better so that they can give off their best in terms of what we ask them to do.
Organized labor has declared its readiness to support any form of agitation by the Ghana National Association of Teachers if attacks on teachers continue in schools and communities where they work. The Trades Union Congress, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, and the Pre-Tertiary Teachers Association of Ghana say they will not allow the rights and safety of teachers and workers to be violated. According to the labor unions, attack on teachers threaten the safety of educators and undermine effective teaching and learning.
The TUC and all workers and for that matter organized labor will support NAT of any action that they take when any teacher is assaulted in this country. We sell our labor, but we don't sell our rights. We don't sell our bodies. We sell our labor and pay for it. Why must we be assaulted?
Now the president has given us his full support. We are encouraged. Any student who assaults teachers should be punished according to law.
Now we want to see more action. It is not just about penalizing them. They apologize and that is it. But I think we should take stringent action. Some of these students should be dismissed because at the end of the day, the more they do it, others are also taking a cue from it. They think they can also do it.
The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority says the new digital number plate system has stalled because amendments to the law LI 2180 could not reach maturity before Parliament went on recess. Director of Corporate Affairs at DVLA, Stephen Atu, stresses it is not because of any legal proceedings against the authority.
This whole exercise, based on our inability to meet the LI amendment as we speak, there's no process on us in terms of an injunction on the work we do as an authority. But let nobody confuse our suspension, maybe take credit for it as a result of a certain legal process that has been taken by another person.
The University of Ghana has been ordered to, with immediate effect, reverse its 25% increase of fees. The university has been further ordered to refund all students who pay the excess fees in what the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission (GTEC) describes as a flagrant breach of rules guiding fee increases and implementation. According to GTEC, the action by the University of Ghana comes despite a notice to all universities in the country to avoid charging fees without prior approval. In a statement, GTEC ordered UG to reverse the additional fees charged, stating a failure to do so will see the university sanctioned. The executive director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Insia, has cautioned that recent developments in Venezuela could significantly affect Ghana's future petroleum revenue and worsen the country's budget position. This follows U.S. President Donald Trump hinting that the U.S. will take control of Venezuela's massive oil reserves and recruit American companies to invest billions of dollars to refurbish the country's gutted oil industry.
The government is likely going to invest huge resources to modernize the infrastructure and ensure that Venezuela is able to come back on stream onto the international market as a major player of crude oil production. If that happens, it means that production and supply of this particular product is going to be larger on the international market against a sloppy demand.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7. As well as always, probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil, Tum Tum Preco. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, firefighters accused of assaulting a journalist are under investigation. We're examining the press freedom implications and also the impact that this has on journalists doing their work and being assaulted in the line of duty. We've seen one too many of these instances, even at some point getting the president to condemn such assaults on journalists in the line of duty sometime last year. We recall that. But the Class Media Group has condemned the alleged assault of its journalist, Samuel Addo, by personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service, urging relevant authorities to carry out a swift, thorough and impartial investigation to establish the facts and ensure accountability. Now, the incident reportedly occurred while Samuel Addo, that's a journalist with Class Media Group, and the Accra FM video you see on the screen. Accra FM is a subsidiary of this Class Media Group, is said to be covering a fire outbreak at the Kaswa New Market in the Central Region. Now, I'm going to show you this video. Just want you to take a listen to exactly what happened in there. I just want to play it back from the beginning for you to have a full complement of exactly how this matter played out. Take a look. Well, so there are two individuals you see in this video being assaulted by civilians and then personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service. The personnel in there, some of them, the video captures their faces. Okay? One we understand is an alleged thief or someone who sought to take advantage of this fire outbreak to steal. And the other gentleman you see after the first gentleman in the shots is the journalist in question, Samuel Ado, who was assaulted. What exactly was his crime? Well, he has also been speaking. Samuel Ado has been speaking about this, his ordeal at the hands of the fire service personnel and then also the civilians. I wanted to take a listen to him narrate exactly what he went through. Quite troubling. Take a look.
When I came, I made a report on the morning show. So after the report, I decided to approach the fire service men to also take their side of the story. But upon reaching where they were stationed, I saw them beating up, assaulting the civilians around. So I decided to capture the scene. So as I was capturing, one young fire service personnel approached me, and I introduced myself to him as a media personnel. So he went back. Then a few minutes, I saw them coming in their numbers, about 10 of them, including the guy who approached me. So they came, and then they held my neck, pulled my hands behind me, and then started assaulting me. They took my phone, torn my belt, and we took my phones and then the belt, even the belt that they torn, they took the belt away and then went away with my mobile phone. So later I realized that my bag is opened. The bag has been opened. So upon further check, I got to realize that my money is missing. About 10,200 got missing out of that.
10,200?
10,200, because it was 20,000. Yeah.
So has your phone been brought back to you by the police?
By the intervention of the Member of Parliament, that's Felix Nakoyo, I have received the phone, but now left with the money. And I've also been given a medical form, so from here I'm going to the hospital.
It means you've officially reported to police?
Yeah, I've reported to the police. They've taken my statement.
Well, that's Samuel Ado there, the journalist with Class Media Group, narrating his ordeal to the media earlier. Well, he's gotten his phone back. What is outstanding now is the 10,200. He said he had that amount of money in his bag. As a result of this assault, he's lost it. Who bears the burden and the liability of paying that money back to him? It's a question that obviously has to be answered. Okay? But the fire service put out a statement also explaining their side of things. We've heard from the victim, but this is what the fire service says, that they have taken notice of a viral video circulating on social media, which allegedly shows some yet to be identified fire service personnel assaulting a civilian whose identity has also not been established. That's what they said in this. The service confirmed that the alleged assault of a journalist is under police investigation and that the Ghana National Fire Service will fully cooperate to establish the facts. So that's their commitment, okay? As I indicated, their statement, they said the video captures an altercation between firefighters and a suspected thief who had earlier attacked firefighters along with a group of accomplices at the fire scene. So this is one part of the video, as I explained earlier. This suspected thief, you see him in the video as one of the two young men assaulted by the fire service personnel and then also some civilians. Management of the service has constituted a committee to investigate the incident thoroughly and establish all relevant facts. And while fire service condemns attacks on its personnel, they equally frown upon any form of physical or verbal assault on civilians by its personnel, regardless of the level of provocation. And they say they urge the public to remain calm and exercise restraint while the investigations continue. And they remain committed to professionalism, accountability, transparency in the discharge of its mandate, and they will continue to cooperate with the media and relevant authorities to ensure accurate public information. That is the full complement of the fire services statement. Well, we'll hear from DO2 Desmond Aka. He's head of public relations for the fire service. We'll hear from him, but let me acknowledge the presence of Richard Komado. He's a security analyst, is joining us on Zoom for a quick conversation on this rather unfortunate development. Mr. Komado, good evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Nene.
Now, should the fire service be investigating itself in this matter? Because they say in this statement that they have established a committee to look into exactly what happened. Should it be their responsibility?
So there are two things here. All law enforcement agencies have what we call due diligence units. And that of the police is what people are aware of. That is the PIPS. That is headed by COP Kujote. But all law enforcement agencies have due diligence units. And the reason for the due diligence units is for accountability, professional conduct, issues of complaint, and the particular issue we are talking about here. So I wasn't surprised in their statement. They said the fire service has taken notice and they will investigate it. The other side I am so happy about is when they brought in the police, for the police to also look at whether something untoward has happened and who are the culprits. And then at the end of the day, once people have found that they have misconducted themselves and they have acted in a manner that do not sound like a law enforcement officers, there are consequences and there are ramifications. And so that is where we are heading towards. If it, on the other hand, it is found out that it is the civilians that created problem for law enforcement officers by interfering and interacting in their discharge of duty, the law will also take its course. So that is the beauty of it. Other than that, it's an unfortunate situation and it doesn't look good. And it looks as if we are back to this same point again where we have to educate the general public and educate law enforcement officers about the cordial relationship that must exist between them because they have a shared responsibility in maintaining law and order, whether they are putting out fire or police officers fighting criminals in the street.
But you see, let's look at the video, right? If even the gentleman they refer to in their statement as a suspected thief, and they acknowledge the fact that the person is a suspect and not yet confirmed or, as it were, charged with the crime or that particular act of thievery. Why would they now want to take the law into their own hands and be seen to be taking part in the mob justice or the instant justice we've seen in this video being meted out to this gentleman who is described as a suspected thief? How troubling is that?
It's condemnable. It's unfortunate. It looked very offensive, but then investigation will bring it out. I believe they have watched the video and they have seen some aspect of a misconduct. And most time, recording of law enforcement operations, it's a new thing coming into the fray. And mostly, law enforcement officers are always anxious about operational security, while those who do some of these videos are also anxious about the way law enforcement officers will react or they will respond. Mostly, they've gotten it wrong, and I think public education will help in that regard. But taking the law into your own hands, even though you might have a just cause, I believe they were doing the right things wrongly. And on this case, it was caught on video.
And you see one of them holding a helmet, using that helmet as a weapon, hitting both gentlemen. In fact, this video by Accra FM captures one of the fire personnel using his helmet to hit this suspected thief, and then also using that same helmet on the journalist as well. I mean, in what form should the investigation take by the committee and the police as well?
No, so per standard procedure, they will look at conduct, they will look at actions, they will look at the circumstances, and they will look for externalities. Then they will consider the action itself and what led to the authentication, whether it's the BNR that is investigating it, or the police, or the due diligence unit of the fire service. These are the parameters for which they will look at it. Then they will ask for a reasonable action within the circumstances, and whether officers apply themselves to the reasonable actions under such circumstances. Then again, they also look at what the ramifications are, and whether there has to be a criminal charges preferred against them, or they have to be taken through the civil route. Remember, if it is found out that officers misconduct themselves, they could be dismissed, they could be reduced in rank, and there could be demotion, and it could be anything. They could also be tried at court. So there are various ramifications for some of these things, and they could also be dismissed outrightly. So we have to wait, even though it is condemnable and it's on tape and everybody is looking at it. I think that public education and creating awareness has become a major issue. And this whole relationship between civilians and law enforcement officers, particularly frontline officers who can come under some huge pressure, we'll have to look at it again. But then again, like I said, the due diligence unit within fire service and the police will look at it. It is clear that they crossed the line by hitting the suspected person with the helmet, and in the manner they did. But they will have to find out what exactly happened and what has led to where we are today.
And I truly appreciate your time. Richard Komado, thank you for joining us, security analyst Richard Komado, with your thoughts, as always. Now, this matter caught the attention of the presidency. Felix Kwakye Ofosu is Minister in charge of Government Communications, and he put out this on his Facebook handle earlier today. The attack on the class media group Samuel Addo by some personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service is most unacceptable, and I condemn same. Firm action will be taken against the rogue elements who carried out this attack. That's Felix Kwakye Ofosu, the Minister in charge of Government Communications, earlier putting out this particular statement, clearly indicating the intention in the coming days, that it says these rogue elements who carried out this attack would have firm action taken against them. And this also comes at a time when the fire service itself says they put some measures in place to investigate this. A committee that has been put in place to investigate. It's a very calm. We've had quite a number of these instances in the not too distant past. Journalists in the line of duty being attacked. The president, John Dramani Mahama, at some point had cause to condemn attacks on journalists just sometime last year. I want to take a listen to him, okay? And I'll recall a number of these instances where journalists in the line of duty have been attacked. Take a look.
Allow me to condemn in the strongest terms the recent incident involving the manhandling of some journalists by our security personnel. Such conduct is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. I have instructed that the incident be thoroughly investigated and that the officers involved be sanctioned accordingly. As a card-bearing member of the Ghana Journalists Association, I will not preside over a government that abuses or intimidates journalists in the lawful exercise of their duty. A free and responsible press is indispensable to our democracy, and we must all work to protect the media. I'll soon convene a meeting between the heads of the security services and the leadership of the GJA to plan a program to orient our troops to recognize.
And we'll also be finding out that meeting that the president talked about sometime last year when Carlos Kaloni of Joy News was attacked has taken place for that orientation that he talks about, because it's important, okay? But these are the instances. Between January 2025 to January 2026, we've had a number of instances of journalists being attacked in the line of duty. Stephen Owusu, journalist who reports for Asante Kotoko, was assaulted by fans during the GPL match. Kofi Adede, or the Oirepa Radio TV, also in the Ashanti region, was attacked during the Council of State elections. Charles Iwa-Mensah of Lawson TV, that same elections, he was attacked there. Latif Idris was also assaulted while covering protests at the Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO, if you recall. And also Kwabena Ejekum Banahene of GH1 TV, attacked during a Blekoma North rerun, the same as Salome Mate as well. And as I mentioned, Carlos Kaloni, while reporting a demolition exercise on the Spintex Road, and this was what the president condemned. And then Kwame Esel of our very own Kwame Esel Onia FM was assaulted while covering mining site issues, if you recall, sometime. And then now we have this one, Samuel Ado, Class Media Group, attacked while covering this fire at Kaswa in the central region. Quite a troubling development, as we're seeing in there. The hope is that this does not continue, as journalists continue to do their work and then also uphold all the standards as we know. But let's take a listen to DO2, that's Desmond Aka. He speaks for the Ghana National Fire Service, and earlier he spoke to the media, so explaining further what they intend to do. Take a look.
Yeah, so as trained officers, when they seized the phone, the best place to have gone to was the nearest police station, of which they did. They never assaulted anyone. And as I speak with you, we understand the phone has already been handed over to the journalist. We have the responsibility to protect people who throng the hot zone and ensure that they are not affected by the activities in the hot zone. We didn't want anybody to be affected. You know, for a fire scene of this magnitude, the hot zone becomes a security zone. It also becomes a safe zone that we need to protect that area. And therefore, if we suspect that anything untoward could affect the life of anybody there, we need to be able to protect such individuals. That is how come the person who was trying to even go inside the...
So that's DO2 Desmond Aka. He is the head of public affairs for the Ghana National Fire Service. You hear him saying that this journalist was not assaulted, but then again, in the statement that I just read to you, which he authored, he indicates that they have constituted a committee to investigate the assault on the journalist by some members of the Ghana National Fire Service and civilians as well. And this is a video that's gone viral. It's public and can also be relied on by this particular committee. We'll keep an eye on this one and be updating you as we go on here on Ghana Tonight. But coming up next, United Nations converge. There's an emergency meeting earlier today over Nicolas Maduro's capture. We have the latest development, including implications for international law. And you see, this is one that we might be asking, what exactly is our concern in this matter? Well, we are concerned and also will be impacted in many ways. But there have been mixed reactions and expressed at the United Nations Security Council emergency meeting over the American operations in Venezuela. While some nations have described the arrest of the Venezuela president, Nicolas Maduro, as a breach of international law, others say it is a good move geared at restoring democratic rule in that country. That's a key, the statements made by some of the nations, key nations in this UN General, that's the Security Council. The meeting ended not too long ago, and this is what the Venezuelan representative at the UN Security Council emergency meeting said. That's Samuel Moncada. He said that not only his country's sovereignty is at stake, but also the credibility of international law and the authority of the United Nations. That's number one. He says that Venezuela was subjected to an, quote, illegitimate armed attack by the United States on 3rd January, lacking any legal justification and constituting a flagrant violation of the United Nations Charter, Geneva Conventions, and the principle of sovereign equality. The UK, James Koriki of the United Kingdom, said Maduro's actions created extreme levels of poverty, violent repression, and failing basic services, and precipitated a displacement crisis affecting the whole region. The tone of the UK sort of seems to support, as it were, what's happening now, especially taking into consideration their position on Nicolas Maduro's rule and how it impacted on the citizens. Cuba's delegate warned the council that Washington, D.C.'s hegemonic and criminal plans, quote-unquote, towards Venezuela have produced serious and unpredictable consequences for regional stability. Mexico's representative said the United States' action must not be permitted, calling it a violation of the UN Charter and a threat to multilateralism. Well, I'm going to tell you what this UN Charter that they all keep referring to, and so that it'll put the matters in context. The Brazilian representative also said his country firmly rejects the armed intervention in Venezuela, calling it a blatant violation of the same UN Charter that they all reference. And all of this is happening at the UN Security Council meeting. Is an emergency one. We understand it ended not too long ago. Chile's delegate condemned the United States, this unilateral military action. Argentina's representative also welcomed President Trump's decisive action. And so Argentina sort of gave some support to the U.S. on this. We saw the U.K. also condemning Maduro's rule, but then Argentina says it could help end repression that has driven millions of Venezuelans into poverty and forced some 8 million to flee. So they've welcomed Donald Trump's action. They say is decisive in dealing with this particular issue. Now, this is one that has generated some conversation as well. And we're going to have a quick conversation on this, especially because we already know Ghana's position on this matter. This evening, a couple of days ago, in fact, the last 48 hours, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, authored a statement that has also generated some conversation as to whether Ghana came out too early or Ghana, in terms of our timing of the release of our position on this matter, was decisive. Professor Lord Malco is joining us on Zoom right now. He is an international relations expert and also a lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA. Professor Lord Malco Yavuga, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening, Alfred. Thank you for having me.
I do appreciate you. Now, first off, take into consideration what the various countries and their representatives at the UN General Assembly, and that's the Security Council emergency meeting that ended not too long ago, are saying about this. And quite a number of them who are condemning it, but you have others as well who are supporting this. What does this tell you?
Well, it tells me about the split in the international system when it comes to certain issues. So you realize that countries that identify as the key allies of America or Donald Trump, for that matter, are shying away from condemning whatever happened. You talk about Argentina. Argentina president is an ally of Donald Trump. He sees himself as a key ally of Donald Trump, so he's not going to condemn. You look at the UK, they keep talking about the fact that Maduro is a dictator, a brutal dictator, so they will not shed tears for him. And that they are saying that America have to provide the legal justification for doing what they did. So that tells you that they are not going to publicly criticize Donald Trump because they don't want to incur his displeasure or his anger. So they are trying to be diplomatic. Then you see other countries, including Ghana, which have come out fiercely and forcefully to actually articulate a position that is in keeping with I would say, the majority of the global consensus in terms of the international law, the UN Charter, and what have you. And I think that's the way the whole thing is playing out. Countries that are aligned with Donald Trump are not criticizing. Those who think that they want to speak for the Charter are speaking up.
I see. Now, you talk about the Ghana's position, you reference it briefly. Now, clearly condemning what has happened. I'm going to recall that statement shortly. But we didn't mince words on our position on this matter, that this is unacceptable. Now, would you say the timing of Ghana's statement, which came out on the day that this happened, in fact, the evening of that day, of Saturday, we had clearly stated our position on this. Was this decisive, precise timing, or you'd say we came out too early?
Very decisive, very eloquent, very commendable. Ghana has always stood up for the global south, for injustice, spoken against neo-colonialism and new imperialism over the years. So I think Ghana's release was very timely and very forceful, and it leaves no doubt about where we stand on this issue. Remember that in 2003, our own compatriot, Kofi Annan, then the Secretary General of the UN, came out to criticize America's decision to go to Iraq and said that it was illegal. So Ghana, what we've done today is also to pay homage to Kofi Annan, to Kwame Nkrumah, and to our Pan-Africanist and global South kind of a solidarity. Because if you look at the statement that Ghana has released, we are in keeping with our foreign policy principle, one of which says that we as a country are going to adhere to the UN Charter that says that there should be no use of force in resolving international disputes. And that's very critical. If you are signatory to the Charter and the Charter is being violated, the timing couldn't have been perfect, the time we spoke, because we want to show that we are law-abiding. And Ghana, part of our foreign policy also says that we would use lawful means to resolve international disputes. So if there's a dispute between countries or among countries, the best approach is to go back to what the Charter says. It is only the UN Security Council that can authorize the use of force. But as you see in this instance, that didn't happen. And that Ghana would have been reneging on its charter obligations if we had not spoken up the way we did and as forcefully as we've done. And I commend the foreign minister, the foreign ministry for articulating such a position very strongly and powerfully.
Do you see any possible repercussions whatsoever in this position we have taken, clearly stating our position on what the United States has done?
Well, not at all. I don't see any repercussion. See, we might anger the United States of America, and they may want to take any actions against us, but so be it. You know, there's something called principled and moral foreign policy. You can't say in the name or for the fear of repercussions, you don't speak up if there's clear violations of international law.
I see. And then you reference this UN Charter.
Ghana has taken a principle.
Sorry, you conclude on that point for me. Sorry.
Yes, so I'm saying that we are taking a principled moral position as part of our foreign policy of speaking up against injustice, and we have to be consistent. So if you look at our recent history, we cannot be condemned. You see, the hypocrisy of international politics today is that everybody is talking against Russia for invading Ukraine, and they are citing the UN Charter. The Americans are trying to, under the Biden administration, they were criticizing Russia fiercely, and they are condemning China for trying to take over Taiwan, because these are all against the UN Charter, principles of territorial integrity and all that. Yet, we will hesitate to condemn America when they take the same action in a sovereign state like Venezuela. So I think Ghana, we are just being consistent and principled when it comes to foreign policy.
Right, Prof, if you could sit back a bit for me, that'll be good. I'll be grateful. Perfect. Now, this is the constitutional provision that captures our stance on such matters in terms of international relations or foreign policy. In Article 40 says, in its dealings or in Ghana's dealings with other nations, the government shall promote and protect the interests of Ghana. B, seek the establishment of a just and equitable international economic and social order, promote respect for international law, treaty obligations, and the settlement of international dispute by peaceful means, and then adhere to the principles enshrined in, or as the case may be, the aims and ideals of the Charter of the United Nations, right? That's number one. 2, the Charter of the Organization of African Unity, which is African Union, the Commonwealth, the Treaty of Economic Community of West African States, and any other international organization which Ghana is a member. So our commitment to the Charter of the United Nations. But if you look at the specific Charter, the United Nations, that is Article 2.4, says the organization and its members shall act in accordance with the following principles. All members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purpose of the United Nations. Does this clearly contextualize our position, Prof?
It does perfectly, and I'm happy you read out the whole first, our own foreign policy principles from Article 40 of the Constitution. Then you went down to the UN Charter itself and the obligation it imposes on member states when it comes to international conflicts and disputes. So clearly, you can see that what is happening, Ghana would have been reneging on our charter obligations if we hadn't spoken forcefully in favor or on behalf of the UN Charter. So I think we did an excellent job as a pacesetter in African liberation and as a pioneer of global self-solidarity. I think it is within that context that you have to look at the whole Ghanaians response, because that's historical to our being as a state. We have historically stood up against the downtrodden, against injustice anywhere. We suffered under imperialism and colonialism and neocolonialism. Therefore, if anything like that occurs, we need to speak up in support of downtrodden and countries that cannot speak for themselves in the face of a global superpower like America.
I see. Now, very finally, before I let you go, should we be preparing for whatever reactions there may be that is in the coming days? And if so, what should be the thinking of, or what should be occupying the minds of the Foreign Affairs Ministry now, or the government of Ghana now, for this position we've taken into consideration the fact that this is not the first time we've stood up against the United States? President John Dramani Mahama was clear in that statement, in that speech last year, which you commended him for.
Yes, I did commend him for that. And in my own recent work, I have talked about the need to impose ourselves in terms of our independence. The only way we can stand firm and be able to speak the way we speak now is when we economically empower ourselves as a sovereign state. Because if you are not economically independent, then it limits how far we can go with our principal foreign policy. So I think that yes, there may be repercussions. Donald Trump is a very vindictive leader, is a very transactional leader. He might not be happy that Ghana is speaking out, and even the UK is afraid. So, I mean, Ghana, who is Ghana to speak about? We have done that, and we should be ready. When last year he cut the US aid, we didn't die as a country, and we should be ready to do more of this heavy lifting as a country.
Prof, thank you very much.
So that we become economically independent. That's the only way we can withstand some of these pressures.
And I do appreciate your time, Professor Lord Yefugan. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. He's an international relations expert and also lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA. Thank you for joining us, Prof. Appreciate you. There's more of this you've seen on 3news.com. We're going to go for this quick break. When we're back here on Ghana Tonight, we'll tell you what's happening in some part of the northern part of Ghana, where we're getting information that the police presence on this Tamale Paga highway is non-existent. They have not been at post for, we understand, almost 48 hours now, and there hasn't been any statement formally communicating exactly why the police is not seen at this post. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Now, we're live in the northern part of the country where locals are raising security concerns over the absence of police at barriers and security checkpoints on the Tamale-Paga highway. That's information we're getting right now, and these are videos we got from some of our viewers on the ground in the area. These are police checkpoints that have been abandoned for a couple of days now. The police have not been seen at their regular checkpoints. This is the highway. We understand there's been a number of these highway robberies recorded on this particular road, and that's the reason why this checkpoint and a number of these checkpoints were set up by the police to ensure the security of the commuters and road users on the stretch. But unfortunately, for almost 48 hours now, the users of this highway have not seen the usual presence of the Ghana Police Service emerge, that the police has withdrawn all personnel stationed at the barriers and security checkpoints along the Tamale, Walewale, Bolgatanga, Paga highway, as well as other routes across the upper east, northeast and northern regions. There's no official communication or reason for the said withdrawal, and so this matter we've observed remains unclear exactly what's happened, but sources indicate the decision may be linked to the recent killing of a police officer at the said barrier in Karibenga. Now, this is what we're showing you right now, and we've been monitoring locals and their comments, road users posting comments on Facebook. Local residents have taken to social media to note the absence of police at their usual post and to express growing concern about the security in the area. This one from Mohammed Doud says, I noticed there were no police personnel at the Navrongo-Paga police barrier just by the airstrip junction as at 1 p.m. today. Is there anything the public needs or must know? That is a question that, in fact, Wepia is also asking same. Navrongo to Boga to Zebela, all those officers on the road are no more at post as of yesterday. Abiok Asan, Navrongo to Boga yesterday as well. No police personnel seen at the checkpoints. And then also we have Minila Gerald. From Navrongo to Boga, no police personnel as well seen. And then you have Pwadura Kwame says it started last week, no road checks, no patrols. And we'll see there. And let's have a conversation on this. Dr. Victor Doke is a security analyst and also a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Dr. Doke, good evening. Thank you for joining us. And taking into consideration all what these commuters have said and posted on social media, how does this get to you, especially now because we're getting reports from the viewers that the police personnel are not there? It's been confirmed. We've seen videos of their absence. Doc.
Right. Thank you, Alfred. If this is, factual, then it means I'm sure and certain risk assessment has been done with regards to the personnel in the area and whether the mandate for which they were there has been met or not. So it connects to the risk assessment, and if the threat of armed attacks in that location has minimized, and for which they look at that also and then ascertain that the attacks that have been minimized and then there are continuous, mounting of barriers there or checkpoints there, there's no need for them to be there and specifically having come under attack themselves. So they may have pulled out. So if everything points to the fact that they have withdrawn, then I'm very certain, because you're looking at the state through the police providing security and ensuring safety, protecting lives and property. And if they are there to, ensure safety of travelers and all of that, then I don't think they will leave without any cause, for justification. And especially when it comes to their own lives, they would have to take their measures. And I think one of it is to withdraw per the assessment that has been done. If not, assuming, the mandate for which they were there is not met, then it means what is going to happen is to beef up, their numbers there and enhance their operational capabilities by giving them more arsenals to work with to tackle the threat.
I see. But to the extent that we understand that this particular highway, we've seen recorded a number of robberies on the highway. And that's why the police personnel were stationed there at these checkpoints. They have been absent for over 48 hours. Would you expect a statement, at least, from the Ghana Police Service explaining why their personnel are absent at these checkpoints?
We are looking at the police coming out with a formal statement to this regard so we can understand what has transpired, in going into the final decision of withdrawing, and especially what alternative security measures have been put in place for travelers and those in the enclave to ensure their protection. So we would like to see something of a formal statement coming out from them as soon as possible for us to understand and comprehend as to the decisions that they've taken, because we know per what they do, they are there to protect, travelers and show their safety. We know how these armed attacks are connected to, the conflict elsewhere, far away in Boko and elsewhere. So we should, hope that they will come up with a formal statement and explain, why they review also aside the attacks, and then the assessment that has been done to ascertain whether their mandate was, achieved or not, and then the alternative security measures in that area, per the robberies and all of that. So this will tie to the assessment. If the robberies has gone down, dramatically, then we will expect that, the decision to withdraw them is okay. If not, then we need a statement with regards to the alternative security measures to ensure the safety of travelers.
I see. And for the travelers who are watching us now, what would be your advice to them, especially now that they've been left to their fate, essentially?
Now, I think you just have to be aware. Situational awareness is very key. You are traveling in a state transport, yes. If you have, escort, it's a different thing. But if you don't have an escort, then it means that you are responsible for your security. You are in a bus traveling, and if you should come under attack, then it means the onus lies on the driver now to, take you to safety. And how would he do that? Cooperate with the driver. I don't think, Ghanaians or citizens around those areas would like to be patrolling or walking down those areas. But it's only by vehicle. So it means that you have to be aware you travel as and when you should. In the night, it's very risky. Daytime will likely also be risky depending on the situation. So travel as early as you can. Daytime is advisable, but then if you can't travel in pairs or in groups, you should. And then and all this will relate to the assessment and the statement that will come out from the police. And so it would inform the travelers as to whether it is safe to travel through that enclave or not. But if travelers should go by that road, then you just have to be aware of yourself. And if you detect any, movements across the road in the bushes or whatever beforehand, you can stop the vehicle, return back to your, station of origin until further notice. You seek help, and then you continue your journey. Other than that, I think the state will now have to come in and then see to it that that enclave is protected for travelers.
It's important. I thank you very much. Dr. Victor Doke is a security analyst, a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. I want to say thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join us same time tomorrow for another conversation. I am Alfred Okanse. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint, superior durability.